This was the Provincial House of Assembly, Toronto, July 5th, 1858. For almost 2 decades, the Legislative Union of Upper and Lower Canada had been eking out a precarious existence.
Order, please!
Now, the party and regional rivalries which had threatened this union from the beginning were coming to an ugly head.
The member for Toronto may continue.
I have merely presented once again for the consideration of this House the only measure which offers hope to this nation. Representation by population. Rep by pop is the only way we can preserve the Union.
In reply to the honorable gentleman's remarks, I have only this to say. I have always opposed representation by population as unfair and impractical. I shall continue to oppose it as long as there is a union.
The wrangling between parties was nothing new, nor was it more intense on this day than it had been on occasions in the past. But on this warm July afternoon, a vision was to be christened.
I find myself saddened by the state of affairs to which we've come. I speak to you now as one who is not firmly associated with either party. When I once sided with the opposition and now lean towards the ministerial benches.
The House knows toward which party Mr. Galt leans. But does the gentleman speak to the question?
I most certainly do. The subject of representation by population gives me an opportunity to bring forward what I believe is the real cure for the political evils which beset us. I do not think rep by pop is any answer. More votes will not ensure better administration. A wider remedy must be sought if we are to assuage the feelings of animosity which prevail everywhere. I believe this remedy lies in the principle of federation.
The christening of the vision was not auspicious. No one regarded it as a beautiful child. Yet, present in the House that day were some of the men who, willingly or unwillingly, were to become its godfathers.
I would further propose
Alexander Galt, representing an English constituency in Lower Canada, ex-railway executive, ex-radical, now a middle-of-the-road independent. George Brown, impetuous leader of the Reform Party in Upper Canada and the power behind the influential Toronto Globe. John A. Macdonald, master politician, Upper Canadian Conservative leader and head of the government. And his partner, brusque, fiery Georges Cartier, in command of the Lower Canadian half of the government forces.
But united we could withstand any power on this continent. If 3.5 million people spoke in a single voice, that voice could not fail to be heard, for it would rise from a nation extending from the Atlantic Ocean to Vancouver's Island.
I cannot see that the speech of the member from Sherbrooke demands our serious attention. He speaks impractically, idealistically. Everyone knows that the lower provinces are so isolated as to permit very little communication with them. And as for the wild territories of the West, gentlemen, the idea is not even worthy of attack.
I disagree with the gentleman from St. Catherine. Mr. Galt's presentation is worthy of serious consideration. To be sure, I regret that he found it necessary to appeal to sectional jealousies.
Sir, I have done nothing of the sort. To the contrary, I have tried
A moment, my dear friend. I believe I have the floor. This matter of federation, it is a good idea. I myself advocated it in the session of 1856. I find no fault with Mr. Galt's sentiment. I believe firmly in the Confederation. But I do not believe that a federal union of all the provinces will come for many years. I feel it will take even a century to achieve.
A. Dorion was later to become Confederation's most bitter critic.
Would you put that on my table, please? Could have done with a touch more vinegar.
Referring to the speech I made upstairs, Colonel Playfair?
Oh, good heavens, no. Did I myself not rise to agree? Did I not take the floor on your behalf?
You did, and I am certainly most grateful.
Excellent hearing, Mr. Galt. A trifle underseasoned. Can I help you to some?
No, thank you.
The country's going downhill. Downhill, Mr. Galt.
But I believe we can stop it before any permanent damage is done.
Stop it? Did you say stop it, Mr. Galt? Can one stop a cavalry charge with a round of grape shot?
I would hardly call the Federation principle a round of grape shot, Colonel.
Nor would I. Nor would I. But who, besides yourself and me, believes in Federation?
Dorian?
Dorian would have us put it off for 100 years, and everyone else is interested in grinding his own axe. George Brown could only say 3 words over and over like a parrot. Rep by pop, rep by pop. Sandfield MacDonald prates about the double majority, and there are some who would have us dissolve the Union altogether.
With these men who propose the other solutions, rep by pop, dissolving the Union, they're honest men, Colonel.
But blind. Blind as bats. They will never pay any more attention to us than they did this afternoon.
I think they will. Sooner or later they must.
Must, Mr. Galt?
Sooner or later.
Ah.
Then you see no way out.
Did I say that?
You have said nothing for 30 minutes. And when Johnny MacDonald does not speak for half an hour, we are in trouble.
Trouble! I tell you, George, our Conservative Party is like a nervous old lady lying in bed hearing noises in the night. She's afraid to get up and investigate, and yet if she doesn't, she may be murdered in bed by a burglar.
With you, there's always a story to prove a point. But for myself, I must have plain words. It is simple. The opposition has us cornered. We do not dare risk an election right now. Every day in the House, George Brown and his pack of grits close in a little more. Yesterday, it was the commercial crisis. Today, it was that small-town horse race about the seat of government.
The seat of government? Whether to have our permanent capital at Quebec or Toronto or Ottawa? A most interesting question.
Most foolish question. A time waster. With so many more important matters.
Do you really believe that, George? Come now, where's your sense of patriotism? I feel personally that the seat of government question is so important that the next time they challenge us on it, we should resign.
Resign? Have you lost your mind? To resign over such foolishness and play into the hands of those self-righteous grits? And let George Brown take power?
Well, he is leader of the opposition, isn't he?
How can you think of handing over government without... Yeah. Brown would not last more than a month as a premier, would he?
Under present circumstances, scarcely a week.
MacDonald's prediction was correct. Brown leapt at the chance to form a government. But according to parliamentary rule, he and his cabinet could not sit at their benches nor vote in the House until they had been re-elected. Brown's newspaper, the Toronto Globe, hailed the changeover as a great victory, and the reform elements of Upper Canada were jubilant. But the elation was short-lived.
The House shall divide. Those in the affirmative.
Brown's regime barely lasted 3 days before it fell on a vote of no confidence.
Those in the negative. The question is defeated.
Mr. Alexander Galt, calling by appointment, Your Excellency.
Show him in, please.
After his defeat in the House, Brown still counted on the Governor-General's dissolving Parliament, giving Brown a chance to attain a majority in new elections. But the Governor, Sir Edmund Head, rejected Brown's request, preferring another solution.
I admire your composure, Mr. Galt. A more impulsive man would not have been able to resist inquiring at once why he had been sent for.
I assumed Your Excellency would inform me of his reason when he was ready.
Because I feel we understand one another, I'll not waste your time. My purpose in inviting you here was to ask you to form a government. Are you quite well, Mr. Galt?
Well is a relative word, Your Excellency. It is not every day a man is called on to become Prime Minister of his country. Yes, I'm quite well.
Then I am to understand you accept?
Are you considering, Mr. Galt, or are you still overcome with emotion?
There are many things I'd like to do as Premier of Canada. Many ideas I'd like to advance.
I'm aware of this. My action in calling you here was not at random. Will you form a government?
There is the matter of support, Your Excellency. Because I'm not a member of either party, and have an occasion to oppose them both, I could not count on their support. Add to that the fact that I'm a Britisher from Lower Canada.
Many prime ministers have overcome greater obstacles. Well, Mr. Galt?
The answer, Your Excellency, is no.
I'm grateful for your forthrightness.
I am sorry, Mr. Galt. We could have got on famously. Well, what shall we do with the country? The ship of state needs a man on the bridge.
In my opinion, Mr. Cartier would do admirably, sir.
Cartier? A Frenchman with the bristling eyebrows and nature to match. Cartier. Thank you, Mr. Galt. I shall take your suggestion under advisement.
Who is it?
Holden.
Luther, it's good to see you, man. Come in, come in.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, forgive me, I was sitting here thinking and I didn't realize how dark it had become. Where are my matches?
Luther Holton, a long-time business associate and close personal friend of Galt, was a staunch member of the Reform Party, whose ranks Galt had left. Though defeated in the last election, Holton still maintained a highly active interest in politics.
Well, this is a pleasant surprise, Luther. What brings you to Toronto?
Business?
Laconic, Luther. Never use two words where one will do.
I've come to ask you to use your influence.
My influence? Well, sit down, sit down.
You need some air.
I'm no longer a businessman, Luther. Politics take up my whole time. You well know that.
This concerns politics, Alex. I've just heard that Sir Edmund has asked Cartier to form a ministry.
So soon? Well, the governor moves quickly.
You know about the appointment?
I recommended Cartier.
You recommended him?
He's a capable man.
He's an opportunist. He and his friend, MacDonald, manipulate the country to their own advantage.
Luther, do you have any proof that either George Cartier or John A. MacDonald have ever derived personal profit from office?
That's not the point. Alex, you used to be a liberal. You and I fought some rousing battles together for good causes.
If you've come here to persuade me to rejoin the reform ranks, Luther, it's no good. I'm no longer in sympathy with their principles.
Are you more in sympathy with the trickery of MacDonald and Cartier? They'll use you, Alex. MacDonald and Cartier will come to you with an offer of a ministerial post. Their government is on swampy ground and they know it. Yeah, they'll take you in and then point to you as their prize exhibit of respectability. Mark my words, Alex. They intend to use you.
No one uses me. Come in.
Good evening, Mr. Galt.
Come in, come in.
Mr. Holton.
Mr. Cartier. Well, I must be leaving, Alex. Good night.
Good night, Luther. Sit down.
I have interrupted something.
A social visit?
I wish my visit were only that. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for your recommendation of me to Sir Edmund.
No thanks are necessary. I feel you'll make a capable premier.
I shall need help, Galt. More specifically, your help.
Go on.
I would be honored if you would serve as Inspector General in my cabinet.
Does MacDonald know you're offering me this post?
He concurs heartily.
I see. I shall accept on one condition.
And that is?
That your government give complete support to the principle of federation.
Federation? I cannot understand what that has to do with...
It has everything to do with my acceptance.
You would drive a hard bargain, no?
I'm not bargaining, Cartier. If your government will support federation, you shall have my services. Otherwise... Come in.
Alex.
Morning, Luther. Sit down and have some breakfast.
Don't want any breakfast, thank you.
Well, sit down in any event. You'll upset my digestion.
You've already fallen in with their trickery, haven't you?
Who's they?
MacDonald and Cartier.
Trickery?
You know perfectly well what I mean. Every cabinet minister is required to resign and stand for election before he takes over his cabinet post. Are MacDonald and Cartier going to do that?
No.
No, of course not. They don't dare stand for election now. Instead, they ferret out some technicality, shuffle around ministerial posts so they can hold office without facing the people.
What they've done is perfectly legal.
What they've done is skullduggery.
Luther, there is something I want. Something I feel will be to the benefit of the country.
Federation.
Federation, and I've already taken the first step.
Entering into an alliance with a pair of opportunistic...
Oh, politics is not a child's game, Luther. When you and I were in business together, we made many shrewd tactical moves, and as long as they were legal, we called them good business. Now, I'm not overjoyed by what Cartier and MacDonald have engineered. But as long as it is not illegal, and as long as they keep their agreement with me, I shall not oppose their action.
You'll see they care no more about federation than they do about ethical government.
Whether they care or not, I do, and we have an agreement.
Did Cartier promise you he would actively support federation?
It was a condition for my entering his ministry. Cartier understood...
Shall I tell you how he will support federation? There'll be a cursory, a lukewarm announcement in the House. That'll be his lip service. After that, nothing will be done. Nothing.
And so, His Excellency, the Governor General, was pleased to appoint us to new offices, the ones we currently hold.
The ones you hold illegally. Never was a farce more richly played.
Honorable gentleman is not in order.
We hold our seats, sir, through honest elections, just as the honorable gentleman does.
But you hold your ministerial office through something less than honesty.
Order! We must have order!
Our policy has already been stated several times before this House. However, there are several important additions. First, there will be a number of administrative reforms for greater government efficiency. Second, more stringent tariff acts will be proposed. Also, we intend to investigate the expediency of a federal union of the British North American provinces.
Has the honorable gentleman concluded his remarks?
No, sir, I have not. It is this government's intention to send a delegation headed by Mr. Galt and myself to London as soon as possible to discuss federation.
Soon after Parliament was prorogued, Cartier and Galt sailed for England and presented the brief for federation to the Colonial Office. 5 weeks later...
I don't understand it, Cartier. I simply do not understand why you consider it necessary...
My dear Galt, we have spent more than a month in London. We have been presented to Her Majesty the Queen. We have dined on numerous occasions in the home of the Colonial Secretary. It has all been most enjoyable. It has also been a great waste of time.
We have every reason to believe Sir Edward will give us a decision soon.
When?
Another week, perhaps, 2 at the most.
I cannot wait. I must return to Canada.
Did you believe when we came here we'd have a quick reply to our brief?
We have given them quite enough time.
We have been assured every consideration is being
given. Every consideration. Do you not know what that means? Do you not understand the language of politics?
I'm beginning to wonder whether I really do.
Galt, I came to England because of a promise I made to you. Since we've been here, I have come to respect the strength of your conviction. Come in. Oh, yes. Will you have my trunk taken down to the steamship office, please? I do not feel I can remain longer, but if you feel there's something to be gained by staying, I wish you success in your quest with Sir Edward. And I truly hope his answer will be favorable. But...
There's something about the color of port, don't you think, which lends itself best to the complement of night? Port in sparkling morning sunlight would be as incongruous as... As what, Mr. Galt?
You are the novelist, Sir Edward, not I.
Ah, yes. But a novelist is a chameleon, changing color with extraordinary rapidity. And just now I find myself wearing the good grey dignity of Her Majesty's Colonial Secretary. Well, to our continued pleasure in your presence in London.
The pleasure is mine. But it is one I shall have to break off shortly.
Truly? A pity then. Our festive season is but a few weeks off. I can assure you the city decks herself in unusual finery at this time of the year.
Sir Edward, I cannot begin to show my appreciation for your personal hospitality during my stay. But my purpose in coming...
Your purpose in coming? Ah, yes. Mr. Galt, I shall be frank with you. And that is always a dangerous move for a diplomat to make. When you and Mr. Cartier first arrived, I was disposed against your notion of federation. But, chiefly through your own earnest endeavors, I now realize that the idea has merit. Much merit indeed.
Then I assume we may expect a favorable reply to our brief.
Are all Canadians so blunt, Mr. Galt?
When we deal with urgent matters. Sir Edward, I should like to return to Canada with Crown approval for our plan.
I wish I could give approval. But I regret that the answer must be in the negative. Mr. Galt, let me say this. You have opened my eyes, and the eyes of many in Her Majesty's government, to a possibility that we had virtually ignored until now. Unfortunately, we feel that your plan is impractical at the moment, and perhaps for some time to come. My sources of information lead me to believe that the lower provinces are not nearly ready for the kind of federation you suggest. And as for the Western territories... But you, Mr. Galt, you have carried on a noble struggle. You need not be ashamed of your efforts, nor should you despair.
It is not precisely despair you see in me, Sir Edward.
Then I am glad my novelist's intuition is at fault.
What I feel is fear.
Surely you exaggerate.
One cannot plead such a cause so long. Be disappointed when it falls short of success and not fear the outcome. Especially when one believes, as I do, that the provinces of British North America must either federate or be absorbed by the United States.
Come now, Mr. Galt. The situation is not as urgent as all that.
I am of the opinion that it is. And I also see more than ever now how difficult a road it is we have to travel.
It is not in my power at this moment to be of greater help.
I understand that. But with or without your help, we shall have to make that journey. Sooner or later, we shall achieve federation. And for the sake of our two countries, I can only hope it is sooner.